Today I'm going to be talking about 3 ways that you can avoid emptying your gas tank if you are just starting jiu-jitsu. I have been training for 8.5 years. I am a 2nd degree brown belt. I'm here to talk to you about how you can avoid emptying your gas tank because it's a real thing when you are just starting jiu-jitsu. So the first thing is watching your level of intensity, and the way that I wanted to explain this is there are so many personalities in jiu-jitsu. So I would say there are usually 2 categories that I see most obviously when I'm watching other people train. When you're starting and you're very intense and competitive, you are likely going to be a bit more spazzy, stronger and intense with your grips, and more out of control. And that's, yes, body and physical wise, but also personality plays a role in your game. So if you're very intense or you're strong in personality, the likelihood of you being intense in your game in the beginning is pretty high. And I say that because I was that person. And you have another type of personality where it's very low-key, laid back, they're not worried about anything, they're maybe lazier by nature, which is sometimes a good thing in this game. But you'll see that sometimes they're a little bit slower or delayed in allowing things to happen that shouldn't be happening, or maybe taking something and executing on it a little bit faster, because timing is everything in jiu-jitsu. And so look at yourself and look at 2 different types of personalities. Maybe see which one you are more of. But emptying your gas tank is pretty important in the beginning because you're dealing with fight or flight, and then you're also dealing with your natural instincts of who you are and your personality. So as you're doing jiu-jitsu, go in understanding that you need to slow things down for the most part. If you know you're naturally very slow, be observant and know how slow you are and see if that's something that's working in that moment, or it's something that you might need to shift on in a little bit over time with more roles and experience. For my husband, he was a little bit more slow, and then his intensity had to build up over time. For me, I was a lot more intense in starting, and then I had to learn to slow down or redirect my intensity where it was most effective. The second thing for burning out your gas tank, things that you need to avoid, is intense grips in the beginning. You get so intense that you're gripping for dear life when you finally have a lapel that by 2 minutes in, your hands are destroyed and your grips are just done. And you still have a few minutes left of rolls and you just want to be done because your hands and fingers are just, they're done. They're out, they're exhausted. And so one thing that I did that was really helpful when working on my gas tank, my energy, my grips was a huge one, was I would just take these 3 fingers and hold the lapel like this. And when they were gonna break my grip, I would just immediately readjust to a different grip, whether it was lapel, sleeve, by the knee, like a grip by the knee where the pants are. I would do something that would allow me to redirect my grips just so I could focus on having good grips and just redirecting where I needed the leverage to go. But number 2, I wasn't destroying my fingers by having them ripped apart. Obviously, if you're in a tournament, you're way farther down the line, you kind of know the point of no return of it being like a good thing to keep versus just letting go and finding something else. In the beginning, you have no idea, and so you're holding every single grip for dear life, and that is something that's going to exhaust you really fast. The last thing I'm going to say is learn to breathe throughout your rolls. Think about how you're breathing through your nose, through your mouth. There are so many videos on breath work. This is a huge benefit to you if you learn this in the beginning because of the fight or flight instinct, as well as trying to connect your brain and your body and your movements with the type of people that you're rolling with. This is something where people get gassed out within a minute because they're not watching how they're breathing, and then by a minute and a half in, they're just totally gassed out because they have no idea that they've been holding their breath for that time, or they have forgotten to use their nose to breathe through their nose and their mouth. So then they're just done, and then it's not really an effective roll. So make sure to allow those times to kind of reset. The best time to reset and thinking about when or how you should be breathing is usually if you're like in a you're closing in your own guard. You close somebody in your guard, or you're on mount for a half a second, or you're on somebody's back, or you're in a neutral position. Those are good positions and moments to take a second and see if you are allowing yourself to breathe. right? So you don't gas yourself out. So those are some sweet, simple tricks to be able to help you understand your game. Make sure that you are not gassing out. Hopefully that was helpful. Make sure if you have any questions to let me know down below. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure to do that if you want to see more videos that would be helpful to your jiu-jitsu journey. And I appreciate you all. We'll see you next time.